Hello there, it's Detective DJ, and welcome to our weekly show, The Crime Crushers. Would like to thank you all for having listened in and for continuing to listen in. We are really enjoying bringing these episodes to you, and we hope that you continue to tune in. This week, we have a very interesting episode for you. It's called Fisherman's Feast. Okay, scene of the crime is a very popular beach. The early afternoon is a late summer's one. Seabirds are out flying around and squawking to their heart's content, especially those gulls who keep squawking all the time. The sea is very calm and is of a jade green color. The sun is comfortably warm and a gentle breeze is blowing as people stand by watching and waiting. A crowd is formed around the still figure of a man's body. Bystanders are sort of muttering under their breaths that this person was killed by the bites of sharks. He's clad in a pair of bathing trunks. His left arm is badly mangled, and so too is his upper left thigh. His two young sons are standing close to his body, along with two other family friends. A short time ago, this man was pulled from his luxury fishing boat. His sons and friends had brought him ashore, but he had already been dead. According to Dr. Shea, her resident psychologist, she is wondering, accident or what? Was there a suspect lurking close by? The victim's reason for being on that boat. Was there really a victim? Dr. Shea, for once in her life, is not very sure. Let's go on to part 2, and let's look a bit further into this crime. Was there a crime really committed? Were there any suspects? This whole crime took quite a bit of investigation for us to unravel what really went on. But here's what Chip Sanderson, our resident investigator, uncovered. Now, Marty Mede and his two young sons had come to the Fisherman's Feast Lodge for a weekend. It was supposed to have been a fishing trip. Brandon and Brent Mede, twin sons of Marty Mede, were supposed to have been going off to university fairly soon, so their dad had brought them here for a fishing trip. They had been joined by Marty's close friends, Josh Chastain and Glenn Costano. Marty had wanted to be with his twins just one more time before they left for university. He had planned this outing some weeks before, and he had recently received a double dose of bad news. He had wanted to take some time to think things through. Nicholas Meadows was his trusted friend and lawyer. He was there with them. Josh Chastain was his business partner, and Glenn Costano was his chief financial officer. So there were all of them on this trip. Marty Mede had been a very successful business tycoon. He had created a skincare and cosmetics empire over the last 30 years. He had been married for 23 years and had 3 kids. Daughter Kirsten, who had been enrolled at a very prestigious university pursuing a business degree. And Brandon and Brent, twin boys aged 19. Marty's wife, Kim, had decided to go off on a shopping trip to New York and had taken Kirsten with her, while the boys went off to their fishing trip at Fisherman's Feast Lodge. Nicholas had decided to join Marty on this trip because he was really worried about his dear friend. And the boys had invited Josh and Glenn to come along. They knew how much their dad enjoyed having these two men around, and they were also very experienced fishermen. It was very unusual for shark attacks to take place in these waters. The previous one had occurred more than 15 years ago. Both Josh and Glenn were experienced fishermen. It should be noted here that several pieces of bait had been found in the waters close to the boat. Marty had recently found out that someone in his company was embezzling money. Millions of dollars, and this had been going on for some time now, at least the last 3 years. He had also been told that he had inoperable cancer. This news came fairly recently. His doctors had given him 6 months to live. Only Nicholas Meadows knew about this bad news. Marty has not told anyone about his inoperable cancer. He had intended to put his house in order upon his return from his fishing trip. Brendan and Brent had both been working with their dad. They were both quite savvy with the computer. Brandon was a software guru, and Brent was a hardware repair techie. Josh knew all about the cosmetics market, where to find the consumers, and how to attract them to the company. Glenn was a financial whiz. Nicholas specialized in international law, specifically in international contracts. So as far as the suspects were concerned, everybody was a suspect. Brandon, Brent, his 2 sons, Nicholas Meadows, his lawyer, Josh Chastain, his business partner, and Glenn Costano, who was his chief financial officer. All of them were suspects. According to Dr. Nick, who is our pathologist, cause of death was as follows. Marty Mede had bled to death. One of the bites from one of the sharks had severed a major artery. Let's look at the embezzlement first. It was quite simple in its structure. Invoices had been submitted for supplies from a Swiss company. Markups had varied from 15 to 30% so as not to cause suspicion, and the money had been funneled back to the company in Switzerland. Onwards now to part 3. Give you a brief summary of the crime scene is that Marty Mede, a well-known business tycoon in the skincare and cosmetics industry, his body has been brought ashore, and it appears that he's died of massive shark bites. One of his arteries, or one of his major arteries, was severed. And the crime scene is on a very warm and pleasant summer's afternoon, and the breeze is blowing nicely and the sun is shining gently. Marty Mede's body is surrounded by his 2 sons, Brent and Brandon, his lawyer, Nicholas Meadows, and his chief financial officer, Glenn Costano, and his business partner, Josh Chastain. They were the ones who brought his body ashore. And now we are here wondering what has really happened. We're going to say that everybody is a suspect because we're not really sure what the heck has gone on here. Accident or not an accident? Let's look at some of the questions that we need to address before trying to solve this murder, or if it is indeed a murder. Could the pieces of bait that were found floating be an important piece to this puzzle? Could Josh and Glenn, experienced fishermen, be identified as potential suspects? 2 important questions for you to think about before you go around trying to solve this mystery. The murderer had planned it all out. He knew that each year Marty had taken his sons on a fishing trip, and he also knew the location of this fishing trip, Fisherman's Feast Lodge. That's where Marty always took his sons. He also knew that he was going to receive an invitation to this fishing trip because it was sort of a tradition that the boys would invite the killer to this trip every year. He is an experienced fisherman. He knew that if fishing bait were scattered in the water, it would attract fishes, including dangerous sharks. He bided his time, and when the boat was headed for shore, he struck. He got his chance while everyone else was busy with various tasks getting ready to bring the boat ashore. First, he invited Marty to go for a last-minute swim before they went ashore, and he waited until Marty dove into the sea. He quickly pulled the bait out of the freezer, and then he spread it around the boat. He watched as the fish began to slowly circle around an unsuspecting Marty. Then he called for help. It was too late by then. The sharks did the rest for him. So who did it? Glenn. There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for dropping by. We appreciate you coming in to listen to us. We wish you a very great week, and we'll see you next week. I'm Detective DJ. Bye-bye.